information coming out about this whole NBA scandal and situation. The WNBA is at the front line of it all too, because they is connected to this league. Now, I am here to tell you, the FBI is letting it be known they want phone records, schedules, the whole shebang. Now, we know just a couple of days ago, it was reported that none other than Adam Silver had to meet with the committee to discuss this whole situation involved.
A storm is brewing in professional basketball, and it's bigger than anyone could have imagined. The FBI has officially stepped in, issuing subpoenas to both the WNBA and NBA. Commissioners are being summoned, forced to answer questions that could change everything. This isn't a minor league scandal. This is a full-blown federal investigation, targeting phone records and allegations that could rock the foundation of both leagues. And make no mistake, this isn't gossip or internet rumors. Federal agents are demanding documents, schedules, and mountains of evidence from multiple franchises. In the blink of an eye, the world of basketball went from normal game days to high-stakes legal drama. The question now, are these gambling scandals the tip of the iceberg, or just the beginning of a storm we haven't yet seen?
Indictments were announced involving current player Terry Rozier and current head coach Chauncey Billups. What was your initial reaction, and what have the last 36 hours been like for you?
My initial reaction was I was deeply disturbed. There's nothing more important to the league and its fans than the integrity of the competition. And so I had a pit in my stomach. It was very upsetting.
And Terry Rozier was allowed to keep playing after an NBA investigation ruled that there was no NBA rules violated. What do you make of that decision now amid the FBI's allegations against him?
So what happened was, because bets were placed through legalized legal betting companies, they picked up aberrational behavior around a particular game.
The FBI isn't just sniffing around anymore. They've officially launched a full-scale investigation into the NBA, and by extension, the WNBA. This isn't something the leagues can quietly sweep under the rug with a slap on the wrist. Federal agents are demanding phone records, schedules, documents, even physical property from multiple teams. The Department of Justice is involved, and now congressional committees are pressing for answers. This is as serious as it gets. So what do we actually know? Multiple reports, including breaking news from The Athletic, reveal that the NBA has requested files from a number of franchises, with the Los Angeles Lakers standing front and center. Why the Lakers? That question alone is enough to send shockwaves through the league. And they're not alone, several other teams are under scrutiny. The Lakers just happen to be the biggest name caught in the crosshairs so far. 2 Lakers employees have already stepped forward, handing over their mobile phones voluntarily. Mike Monchase, a team staffer, and Randy Mims, an executive administrator, gave investigators full access to calls, texts, and messages. Was it innocence or smart legal strategy? Either way, the FBI now has a window into their private communications. At the heart of this storm, illegal sports gambling. Investigators are probing whether players, coaches, or staff shared inside information to help bettors make huge profits. This isn't just casual betting, this is potentially conspiracy, fraud, and game manipulation, federal crimes that could upend the entire professional basketball world.
Our attention by the regulators and the betting companies. We then looked into that situation and were very transparent about it. And while there was that aberrational betting, we frankly couldn't find anything. Terry at the time cooperated. He gave the league office his phone. He sat down for an interview, and we ultimately concluded that there was insufficient evidence, despite that aberrational behavior, to move forward. We then worked directly with the law enforcement, as they said at the press conference, that the league has been cooperating. And so that was obviously over 2 years ago. So the federal government has subpoena power, can threaten to put people in jail, can do all kinds of things that a league office can't do. So we've been working with them since then. And of course, what they announced yesterday was an indictment. So 2.5 years later, he still hasn't been convicted of anything, in fairness to Terry. Obviously, it doesn't look good, but he's now been put on administrative leave. And so, there's a balance here of protecting people's rights and investigating. And as I said, we've been working with the government, and they have extraordinary powers that
And just like that, the entire world of professional basketball has been thrown into chaos.
Remember, the NBA, no subpoena powers. You don't have to talk to the NBA investigators or MLB Department of Investigations. When the federal government asks you a question, you have to answer. Now, you can invoke the Fifth Amendment, be my guest, enjoy, but they have the right to compel you to testify. There are grand juries who are seated to look at evidence in a way that the leagues don't do with their Department of Investigations. It's a totally different level of scrutiny. So Adam Silver, that's the least of his issues, to be asked by people like you, hey, how stupid were you that you cleared Terry Rozier? That is not the question. The question is going forward. He'll answer it, but the question going forward is, what do we do to work better with the FBI, better with the gambling companies who are our partners, to give comfort to our customers, like you said in the first hour, comfort that the integrity has not dropped even an iota?
The investigation erupted into a full-blown frenzy after federal charges were slapped on some of the league's biggest names. Terry Rozier, guard for the Miami Heat, was arrested. Shanti Billups, head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, found herself under the microscope. These aren't peripheral figures, these are household NBA names. When active players and coaches are facing federal charges, you know the rot goes deep. And it gets even more tangled. Congressional committees are demanding answers from the NBA. Why didn't the league report the evidence linking players and coaches to this scheme? That silence alone could point to obstruction, or at the very least, a PR nightmare painting the league as either complicit or completely incompetent. The Los Angeles Lakers keep surfacing in the leaks, and here's why it matters. Damon Jones, former NBA star and longtime friend of LeBron James, is among those charged. He's coached alongside LeBron in various roles, and now federal investigators are seeking documents from at least 10 Lakers employees because of these connections. When someone in your inner circle is under investigation, authorities want to know, what did you know, and when? Speculation is already running wild online. Some claim this explains LeBron's recent absence, legal caution, lawyer advice, or maybe just a coincidence. But when federal gambling probes swirl around your organization, the rumors write themselves. And then there's the WNBA. Don't think for a second they're immune. Operating under the NBA's umbrella, financially, administratively, and organizationally, the Women's League could face serious fallout if the FBI finds similar insider gambling activity. You can be certain the FBI's eyes won't stop at the NBA, the WNBA is next in line. The logical progression is clear: finish the bigger league's investigation, then pivot straight into the women's game. And it's not hard to see why. The WNBA has had its own storm this season: questionable officiating, bizarre calls that flipped game outcomes, and whispers of bias and favoritism. Nothing has been proven, yet. But fans have noticed, and the suspicion is loud. If federal investigators dig into whether referees or team personnel were feeding information to gamblers, the consequences could be devastating. The smaller size of the league may actually make illicit coordination easier to manage and harder to detect. What makes this probe truly explosive is the personal information at stake. Federal charges point to insiders using non-public injury reports, secret game plans, and details about players' personal struggles to help gamblers cash in. Even a coach quietly resting starters becomes a piece of a larger puzzle worth millions to the wrong hands. If this information was traded for profit, it's not just unethical, it's a federal crime. Referees raise the stakes even higher. If officials were complicit, or worse, manipulating games to favor certain bets, it would shatter the integrity of the sport entirely. History shows it's possible. Think Tim Donaghy, the NBA referee who bet on games he officiated and altered calls to hit point spreads. He ended up in federal prison. If anything like that is happening today, the fallout could be catastrophic. Meanwhile, the NBA is racing to get ahead, quietly demanding documents through legal channels before the FBI even makes formal requests. A smart move legally, It signals cooperation and transparency, and helps control the narrative. But it also screams one thing: the league knows this is serious, and they're scrambling to contain the damage. You don't call in lawyers and start demanding internal files from 10 employees on a single team unless something truly explosive is unfolding. And the timing? Suspicious doesn't even begin to cover it. The Dallas Wings just fired their head coach and general manager. Other teams have made abrupt, eyebrow-raising personnel changes. Were these moves tied to the investigation? Were organizations quietly cutting ties with people suspected of involvement in illegal gambling? We don't know yet, but the timing alone is enough to set off alarm bells. What's truly astonishing is that this story has erupted within hours, and already every major outlet is covering it. The New York Post, national sports networks, social media feeds everywhere, speculation is exploding. This will not be a quiet scandal that fades away. It will dominate headlines for weeks, maybe months. Federal investigations are slow, methodical, and thorough. Every phone call, every email, every text is being dissected. Anyone connected to a suspect will face questions. For the WNBA, this couldn't come at a worse moment. The league is already entangled in stalled CBA negotiations, with players uncertain about the season ahead. Attendance and viewership were up, a rare positive trend, but financial stability remains fragile. Now, layer on a federal gambling investigation, and you have a nightmare scenario for a league that was finally finding momentum. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert will face brutal scrutiny, and if even a small scale of corruption is found, the league's credibility could take a catastrophic